Captain Dae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, staring at the star map that glowed before him. The red zone marked across dozens of star systems showed the Kepler-7 sector, where 3 alien races had been fighting for 20 years. No one who entered that area ever came back. The war between the Valthron Empire, the Korthek Dominion, and the Nexari Federation had turned whole solar systems into graveyards. Ships floated dead in space. Planets were burned to ash. The fighting never stopped day or night, year after year. Dae-ho had seen the reports. The Valthrons could control energy like humans controlled tools. They built weapons that shot pure light and shields made of crackling power. The Kortheks were different. They changed their own bodies, making themselves stronger and faster. Their ships were alive, grown instead of built. The Nexari were the smallest of the 3, but their technology was amazing. They had shields that could stop anything and computers that thought faster than any living mind. Earth had stayed out of the war. The United Nations decided long ago that humans were too weak to fight such powerful enemies. Better to stay quiet and hope the aliens forgot about the small blue planet on the edge of known space. But 3 months ago, everything changed. The colony ship New Horizon had disappeared while trying to reach the Outer Rim territories. 5,000 families were on that ship. Men, women, and children looking for a new home among the stars. They had vanished without sending even one distress signal. "Captain," said Communications Officer Yu-Jin Nam from her station. "Admiral Park is calling again." Dae-ho nodded. He knew what the Admiral wanted. She had been trying to stop this mission for weeks. "Put her through." Admiral Hai-Jin Park's face appeared on the main screen. Her expression was hard, but Dae-ho could see the worry in her eyes. "Captain Kim, I am ordering you to return to Earth. This mission is suicide." "Admiral, those colonists are still out there," Dae-ho replied. "We cannot abandon them." "We can and we will," Park said firmly. "The Indomitable is humanity's most advanced warship. We cannot risk it in a fool's mission to a place where entire alien fleets have been destroyed." Dae-ho looked around his bridge. Chief Engineer Bo-Ram Lee was checking her systems, making sure the ship's new fusion plasma engines were ready. Tactical Officer Jin-Woo Choi studied battle reports from the war zone, looking for patterns that might help them survive. These were good people, brave people. They had volunteered knowing they might never come home. "Admiral, the Indomitable was built to protect human lives," Dae-ho said. "Those families trusted us to keep them safe. I will not break that trust." Park's face grew darker. "You are disobeying a direct order, Captain." "Yes, Admiral, I am." The connection ended. Dae-ho knew there would be consequences if he survived this mission, but he also knew he could not live with himself if he abandoned 5,000 innocent people. "Captain," said Jin-Woo from the tactical station, "we are approaching the edge of the Kepler-7 sector. All stop," Dae-ho ordered. "Bo-Ram, give me a full sensor sweep." Bo-Ram's fingers moved across her controls. The main screen showed the space ahead of them. It looked empty, but Dae-ho knew that was wrong. This area should be full of warships, fighting and dying in endless battle. "Captain, this is strange," Bo-Ram said, frowning at her readings. "I am not detecting any energy signatures. No weapon fire, no engine emissions, no communications. Nothing. Maybe the fighting moved to another system?" suggested Yu-Jin. Jin-Woo shook his head. "According to all intelligence reports, the war covers this entire sector. The fighting should be everywhere." Dae-ho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. 20 years of war, the fighting had never stopped. Not once. The 3 alien races hated each other too much to ever declare a ceasefire. "Bo-Ram, can you detect any ships at all?" he asked. "Yes, Captain. Long-range sensors show multiple large vessels throughout the sector. But they are all dead. No power, no movement, no signs of life." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Thousands of alien warships, each one powerful enough to destroy Earth's entire fleet, were floating lifeless in space. "Orders, Captain?" asked Jin-Woo. Dae-ho made his decision. "We go in. Those colonists are somewhere in that sector, and we are going to find them. Captain, said So Young Han, the ship's xenobiologist. What could kill entire fleets like this? Even if one side won the war, there should be survivors. I do not know, Daeho admitted. But we will find out. The Indomitable moved forward into the Kepler 7 sector. As they passed the boundary, Daeho felt something change. The air on the bridge seemed heavier. The lights appeared dimmer. Several crew members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Are you feeling that? Asked Boram quietly. Daeho nodded. There was a pressure in his mind, like someone pressing gently against his thoughts. It was not painful, but it was wrong. Alien. Something that did not belong in human space. Captain, I am detecting debris fields ahead, reported Jin Woo. Multiple ship types. Valthran, Korthek, and Nexari vessels. Take us closer. I want to see what happened here. As they approached the first debris field, the main screen showed a sight that made everyone stop breathing. Dozens of massive warships floated in perfect formation, as if they had simply stopped in the middle of battle. Some showed damage from weapons fire, but many looked completely untouched. A Valthran energy cruiser drifted past their window. Its crystalline hull still glowed with power, but it moved like a dead thing. No lights flickered in its windows. No energy sparked from its weapons. Boram, can you scan that ship? Daeho asked. Scanning now, Captain. She paused, studying her instruments. This is impossible. The ship still has full power, but nothing is working. It is like someone just turned off the crew. What do you mean? Life signs show the crew is still alive, but they are not moving, not talking, not even breathing normally. They are just there. Daeho felt the pressure in his mind grow stronger. Whatever had done this was still here, still active, and the Indomitable was flying deeper into its territory with every passing second. Captain, said Yu-Jin, her voice tight with worry. I am trying to contact Earth, but something is interfering with our communications. The signal is being blocked. By what? I do not know. It is not jamming in any way, I understand. It is like something is absorbing our transmissions. Daeho looked at the dead ships floating around them. Somewhere in this graveyard of fleets was the New Horizon and 5,000 human colonists. He had to find them. But first he had to understand what they were facing. Jin Woo, prepare an away team. We are going aboard that Valthran ship. Captain, is that wise? Asked So Young. Probably not, Daeho replied. But we need answers, and those colonists are counting on us. The Indomitable moved closer to the dead alien warship, while in the darkness between the stars, something ancient and hungry took notice of the small human vessel that dared to enter its feeding ground. The away team gathered in the shuttle bay. Lieutenant So Young Han checked her scientific equipment while Chief Medical Officer Tae-min Oh prepared his medical scanners. Captain Daeho Kim led the team, with Tactical Officer Jin Woo Choi providing security. Remember, we do not know what killed these crews, Daeho said as they boarded the shuttle. Stay alert and report anything unusual immediately. The shuttle left the Indomitable and flew toward the Valthran energy cruiser. As they got closer, the alien ship looked even more strange. Its crystal hull was beautiful, like a giant jewel, floating in space. But there were no lights in the windows, no movement anywhere. Docking bay is open, reported the pilot. But there are no guidance signals. Take us in carefully, Daeho ordered. The shuttle entered the alien ship's docking bay. Emergency lights provided dim illumination, but the main power systems were silent. The air had a strange smell, like ozone after lightning. Atmosphere is breathable, said Tae-min, checking his scanner. But something feels wrong about this place. They left the shuttle and walked into the ship's corridors. The Valthran vessel was built for beings of energy, and everything glowed with soft light. Walls pulsed with power conduits. The floor felt warm beneath their feet. Captain, look at this, called So Young from ahead. They found her standing in what appeared to be the ship's bridge. Valthran crew members sat at their stations completely motionless. The aliens looked like tall humans made of living light, but now their glow was dim and flickering. They are still alive, whispered Tae-min, running his medical scanner over one of the creatures. Heart rate is slow but steady. Brain activity is minimal, like they are in a very deep sleep. Jin Woo examined the weapon controls. Everything is still powered and ready to fire. They did not shut down their systems. They just stopped using them. So Young recorded everything with her scanner. Captain, this does not make sense. These beings control pure energy. What could make them just stop? Daeho approached the captain's chair. The Velthran commander sat frozen, one hand reaching toward a control panel. His expression showed no fear or pain, just emptiness. Can we access their computer records? Daeho asked. Jinwoo worked at a console. The system is still active. I am downloading their logs now. They searched several more ships over the next few hours. A Korthek biovessel where living walls pulsed with slow heartbeats, but the crew sat motionless despite their enhanced biology. A Nexari shield frigate where advanced computers still hummed with power, but the technicians stared at blank screens with empty eyes. Every ship told the same story. Crews frozen at their posts, systems still running but no one alive enough to use them. Back aboard the Indomitable, the away team gathered in the briefing room. Communications officer Yoo-Jin Nam had been working on the downloaded data from the Ken alien ships. I have translated some of the logs, she reported. The pattern is clear. Ships began going silent 3 months ago, starting from the center of the sector and spreading outward. 3 months, said Daeho. That is when the New Horizon disappeared. The final transmissions all mention the same thing, Yoo-Jin continued. An approaching presence that filled the crews with overwhelming fear. Then their ships went dark. So Young looked up from her notes. Captain, I examined crew members from all 3 species. They show the same symptoms. It is like something drained their minds, leaving only basic life functions. What kind of weapon could do that? Asked Jinwoo. Not a weapon, said Taemin quietly. Something alive. Something that feeds on consciousness itself. A chill ran through the room. Daeho had fought pirates and hostile aliens before, but this was different. How do you fight an enemy that attacks your mind? Captain, said Bo-Ram Lee from the engine room through the communicator. We have a problem. I am detecting new power failures on ships at the edge of the sector. Whatever did this is still spreading. Daeho activated the main display. It showed a map of the sector with red dots marking dead ships. As they watched, more dots appeared, moving outward like ripples in water. How fast is it spreading? He asked. At current rate, it will reach our position in 6 hours, Bo-Ram replied. The bridge fell silent. They had 6 hours before whatever killed entire alien fleets reached the Indomitable. Captain, said Yoo-Jin, I am picking up a faint signal from deeper in the sector. It is human. Daeho's heart jumped. The New Horizon? I think so. The signal is very weak and keeps cutting out, but the encryption matches their communication codes. How far? At least 4 hours travel time. Right into the heart of where this thing started. Jinwoo studied the tactical display. Captain, if we go after them, we will be heading directly toward whatever is causing this. We might not make it back out. Daeho looked at his crew. These were good people who had volunteered for a dangerous mission. He had no right to ask them to fly into certain death. The choice is yours, he said finally. We can return to Earth and report what we found, or we can try to rescue those colonists knowing we might join them. So Young spoke first. Those families have been trapped here for 3 months. If they are still alive, they need our help. The scientific data we could gather would be invaluable, added Taemin. We might learn how to fight this thing. Yoo-Jin nodded. I have been trying to contact them. If they are still transmitting, they are still fighting whatever this is. Jinwoo checked his weapon systems. If we are going in, we should go now, before that spreading effect reaches us. Bo-Ram's voice came through the communicator. Captain, the engines are ready. If you want to try something crazy, this is the ship to do it with. Daeho felt pride swell in his chest. These humans might not have energy powers or enhanced biology or super technology, but they had something the aliens seemed to lack. They had the courage to fight even when victory looked impossible. Set course for the signal source, he ordered. Maximum speed. The Indomitable turned toward the center of the dead sector, where something ancient and terrible waited. Behind them, more ships went silent as the spreading darkness consumed everything in its path. As they flew deeper into the graveyard of fleets, the pressure in their minds grew stronger. Several crew members reported headaches and strange dreams. The thing that had destroyed 3 mighty alien civilizations was becoming aware of the small human ship entering its territory. "Captain," said Eugene, "the signal is getting stronger, but I'm also detecting something else. Energy readings unlike anything in our database." "What kind of energy?" "I do not know. It does not match any known physics. It is like it exists outside normal space." Deho gripped his captain's chair as the ship shuddered slightly, not from engine stress but from something pressing against the hull from impossible directions. "Time to target?" he asked. 2 hours, Captain," replied the pilot. 2 hours to reach the colonists. But Deho wondered if they would still be human when they got there, or if they would become just another crew of empty shells drifting in the endless dark. The deeper the Indomitable traveled into the sector, the stronger the pressure became. Captain Dae-Ho Kim watched his crew struggle against something they could not see or touch. Communications Officer Yu Jin Nam held her head in her hands. Tactical. Officer Jinwoo Choi stared at his displays with unfocused eyes. "Captain," said Chief Medical Officer Taemin. "Oh, crew members are reporting severe headaches, difficulty concentrating, and a feeling of overwhelming dread." "Can you treat it?" Dae-Ho asked, though he felt the same crushing weight in his own mind. "I have tried pain medication, but this is not a physical problem. Something is pressing against our thoughts." The main screen showed space ahead filled with dead ships from all 3 alien races. Thousands of vessels floated in perfect silence, their crews trapped in empty shells. At the center of it all, energy readings spiked beyond anything their instruments could measure. "Captain," said Lieutenant So Young-han from her science station, "I am detecting the source of the phenomenon. It appears to be a consciousness of some kind but massive beyond comprehension." "You mean it is alive?" asked Jinwoo, struggling to focus on his controls. "More than alive. It is aware, intelligent, and very old. The energy signature suggests it has existed for millions of years." Chief Engineer Bo-Ram Lee's voice came from the engine room. "Captain, the presence is affecting our systems, not damaging them but making them sluggish. Like something is draining power we are not even using." Dae-Ho felt fear creeping through his mind, but he pushed it aside. "Eugene, status on the human signal?" "Getting stronger, Captain. The new horizon is definitely out there. But the transmissions are strange. They keep repeating the same message over and over." "What does it say?" "Do not give up. Stay human. Do not give up. Stay human." Eugene looked up with worry in her eyes. "Captain, they have been sending that message for 3 months. The implication hit everyone on the bridge. The colonists were still fighting whatever had destroyed the alien fleets, but they were barely holding on. Suddenly, the ship shuddered as something vast and terrible focused its attention on them. The lights dimmed. Crew members cried out as waves of fear crashed through their minds. "Report!" Dae-Ho shouted, fighting against the panic trying to consume his thoughts. "Something is scanning us," said So Young, her voice tight with strain. "It is inside our heads trying to understand what we are." The presence pressed deeper into their minds. Dae-Ho could feel it probing his memories, his fears, his hopes. It felt ancient and cold, like the space between stars. But there was something else. Surprise. Images flashed through his mind that were not his own. He saw the entity's history. It called itself the Hollow Mind, and it had drifted between galaxies for eons, sleeping in the void. The psychic energy from the 3-way war had awakened it and drawn it here like a beacon. The Hollow Mind fed on consciousness, draining the mental energy from living beings. The more advanced and psychically developed a species, the easier they were to consume. The Valthrans with their energy manipulation, the Korthex with their bio-neural networks, the Nexari with their quantum-linked minds, all had been perfect, food for the ancient hunger. But humans were different. The entity had expected another easy meal, but these strange creatures resisted in ways it had never encountered. "Captain," gasped Boram through the communicator. Whatever this thing is, it cannot understand us. I can feel it trying to drain my mind, but something is blocking it. Around the bridge, the crew struggled against the psychic assault. But unlike the alien crews they had found, the humans did not simply stop and stare with empty eyes. They kept working. Yujin continued monitoring communications despite tears of fear streaming down her face. Jinwoo analyzed tactical data even as his hands shook with terror. Tae-min checked on crew medical status while fighting waves of despair. "It is our emotions," said So-young suddenly. "The entity feeds on pure consciousness, organized thought, patterns. But human minds are chaotic. We think and feel at the same time. It cannot separate our logic from our emotions." Daeho understood. The alien races had evolved beyond primitive feelings. Their minds were efficient, logical, organized. Perfect food for something that consumed consciousness. But humans still carried millions of years of evolution that mixed thinking with feeling. The hollow mind pressed harder, trying to force its way past their emotional barriers. The crew screamed as waves of alien thoughts crashed through their minds, but they did not break. "Boram," Daeho called out, "can you increase power to the communication array?" "Yes, Captain, but why? If this thing feeds on consciousness, maybe we can give it indigestion. Yujin, I want you to broadcast every human emotion you can think of directly at that entity." "Captain?" Yujin looked confused. "Do it. Broadcast love, hate, fear, joy, anger, hope, everything that makes us human. Flood its mind with feelings it cannot process." Yujin's fingers flew over her controls. "Broadcasting now, Captain." The ship's communication array blazed with power, sending waves of pure human emotion into space. The crew concentrated on their strongest memories, love for their families, anger at injustice, joy at small victories, hope for the future. The effect was immediate. The hollow mind recoiled as if struck. For eons it had fed on clean, organized consciousness. But human emotion was like poison, chaotic, contradictory, impossible to digest. The entity's grip on their minds loosened. Around them, some of the dead alien ships began to flicker back to life as the hollow mind's attention was disrupted. "It is working," shouted So-young. "The entity is pulling back." But Daeho knew this was only the beginning. They had surprised the ancient creature, but it would adapt, and somewhere ahead, 5,000 human colonists were still trapped in its feeding ground. Jinwoo, plot a course to the new horizon. Maximum speed. Course laid in, Captain. Boram, I need everything the engines can give us. You have it. Captain. The Indomitable raced through the field of dead ships toward the signal source. Behind them, the hollow mind gathered itself for another attack. It had learned that these humans were different, dangerous. Next time, it would not underestimate them. But the crew of the Indomitable had learned something too. They had faced a cosmic horror that had destroyed 3 advanced civilizations, and they had not only survived, they had fought back. Whatever happened next, they knew that humanity's greatest weapon was not technology or psychic power. It was the stubborn refusal to give up, even when facing the impossible. The ship flew deeper into the heart of darkness, where ancient evil waited and human courage would be tested to its very limits. The final battle took place in the space between thoughts, where consciousness meets the void. Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as both ships prepared to broadcast the full spectrum of human emotion directly into the hollow mind's ancient consciousness. "All stations report ready," said Communications Officer Yujin Nam, her hands steady on the controls despite the terror pressing against her mind. "Colonists are in position," reported Chief Medical Officer Tae-min Oh. 4,000 people ready to share their memories. The hollow mind struck first. It had learned from their previous encounters and focused its attack like a spear of pure despair. The psychic assault was so powerful that several crew members collapsed. Images of Earth burning filled their minds, visions of their loved ones dying in agony, the certainty that their mission would fail and humanity would be forgotten. But this time, the humans were ready. "Now!" shouted Daeho. Yujin activated the communication array. Both ships blazed with transmitted emotion as 4,000 colonists and 200 crew members opened their hearts and minds. They shared everything that made them human. Chief Engineer Bo-Ram Lee broadcast her memory of building her first engine as a child, the joy of creation mixed with the frustration of failure. Tactical Officer Jin-Woo Choi sent out his feelings from his wedding day. Love so pure it hurt, combined with fear of the unknown future. The colonists contributed their own experiences. An elderly farmer shared his pride in feeding his community, mixed with his grief at leaving Earth forever. A young mother transmitted her fierce love for her children, alongside her terror of the unknown. Families sent their connections to each other, bonds stronger than logic or reason. The effect on the hollow mind was immediate and devastating. For millions of years it had fed on the clean, organized consciousness of advanced civilizations. But human emotion was chaos, contradictory, illogical, impossible to process. The entity tried to consume their love, but choked on the anger that came with it. It attempted to digest their hope, but was poisoned by the despair that made hope meaningful. Joy without sorrow, courage without fear, determination without doubt. These things did not exist in human experience. Lieutenant So Young-han monitored the entity's energy patterns as they fluctuated wildly. "Captain, it is working. The entity cannot process contradictory emotions. Its consciousness is fracturing." But the hollow mind was ancient and powerful. It began to adapt, trying to separate the emotions from each other, to process them individually. If it could break down human feeling into simple components, it could consume them one by one. Daeho realized they needed something more, something the entity could never understand or digest, no matter how long it tried. "Yujin, I want you to broadcast one more thing," he said. "The memory of everyone who ever refused to give up when victory was impossible." He thought of the first humans who looked at the stars and dreamed of reaching them, the explorers who sailed unknown oceans, the scientists who spent lifetimes solving impossible problems, the parents who worked multiple jobs to give their children better lives, the soldiers who fought hopeless battles to protect others. The colonists understood immediately. They shared their own memories of impossible hope. The farmers who planted crops in drought years, the teachers who never gave up on difficult students, the doctors who fought diseases they could not cure, the ordinary people who chose kindness when the world was cruel. This was humanity's secret weapon, not their technology or their strength, but their absolute refusal to accept that anything was truly hopeless. Other species had evolved beyond such illogical behavior, but humans had kept the stubborn determination that made them climb down from trees and walk across continents. The hollow mind screamed as this final barrage of impossible hope struck its consciousness. Hope without basis in logic. Hope that existed purely because someone chose to feel it. Hope that survived when everything else was lost. The ancient entity's mind shattered like crystal struck by sound. Across the sector, alien crews began awakening as the psychic presence that had paralyzed them fragmented and dissolved. "Captain," gasped Yujin, "the entity is breaking apart. Its consciousness is scattering across space." Daeho watched on the main screen as the hollow mind's energy signature collapsed. The crushing pressure in their minds lifted. Around them, dead alien ships began to flicker back to life as their crews awakened from their forced sleep. "Is it dead?" asked Jinwoo. "Not dead," said So Young, studying her readings. "Dispersed, broken into fragments too small to maintain consciousness. It will take millions of years for those pieces to gather enough strength to threaten anyone again." The evacuation of the New Horizon continued, but now with help from awakening alien crews. Velthran energy masters, grateful to be free, provided power for the transfer. Korthek bioengineers offered medical assistance. Nexari technicians shared their transportation technology. Captain Minho Park of the colony ship shook hands with Daeho as the last colonists boarded the Indomitable. "Captain Kim, how did you know that would work?" "I did not," Daeho admitted. "But I knew that if we were going to die, we would die as humans, and humans do not give up." The journey back to human space took several weeks. Word of what had happened spread throughout the galaxy. The three alien races that had been locked in warfare for 20 years began to communicate. They had all faced the same ancient horror and been saved by the strange species from the small blue planet. Representatives from the Velthran Empire, Korthek Dominion, and Nexari Federation met with Earth's government. As thanks for ending the Hollow Minds threat, they offered humanity territories in the former Warzone. The Kepler 7 sector became humanity's first interstellar territory. The colonists from the New Horizon established New Sol on a planet the Nexari had abandoned during the war. It became the first human settlement beyond Earth's local star cluster. Within months, more colony ships followed, carrying families eager to build new lives among the stars. Admiral Heejin Park met the Indomitable when it returned to Earth. She had prepared a speech about disobeying orders, but when she saw the 4,000 saved colonists and learned what they had accomplished, she simply saluted. "Captain Kim," she said, "Earth is proud of you and your crew." But Daeho knew the real heroes were the ordinary people who had refused to give up hope. The colonist families who had held on to their humanity for 3 months. The crew members who had chosen courage over logic. The children who had drawn pictures to keep their minds active. The galaxy had learned something important. Advanced technology could be overcome. Psychic powers could be turned against their users. Superior evolution could become a weakness. But the stubborn refusal to surrender, the illogical decision to hope when hope was impossible, these things were uniquely human. Other species reached for the stars through evolution and technology. Humans reached for them through willpower alone. And sometimes, when facing cosmic horrors that existed beyond the edge of reason, willpower was enough. 6 months later, Captain Daeho Kim stood on the observation deck of New Sol Station, watching human children play in artificial gravity while alien diplomats discussed trade agreements. The three-way war was over. The Hollow Mind was defeated, and humanity had taken its first steps toward becoming a major galactic power. But more than that, they had proven something to themselves and to the universe. When everything else failed, when technology was useless and logic was meaningless, when ancient horrors arose from the spaces between stars, there would always be humans willing to stand up and fight. Not because they had the best weapons or the strongest ships, but because they had something no other species possessed, the absolute certainty that no matter how dark the universe became, tomorrow could always be better if someone was brave enough to make it so. The galaxy was vast, and full of wonders and terrors beyond imagination. But it was also full of humans now, carrying their impossible hope to every star they could reach. And that, Daeho thought as he watched the children play, made all the difference. The New Horizon appeared on their screens like a ghost ship. The massive colony vessel drifted without power among the twisted remains of alien warships. Its hull was scarred but intact, and faint lights flickered in some of the windows. "Life signs?" asked Captain Daeho Kim. Chief Medical Officer Taemin O checked his scanners, detecting approximately 4,000 human life signs, weak but stable. Daeho's heart sank. 5,000 colonists had left Earth. 1,000 people were already lost. "Captain," said Communications Officer Yujin Nam, "I am receiving that signal again. Do not give up. Stay human. It is coming from their bridge. Take us alongside. Prepare boarding parties." As the Indomitable moved closer to the colony ship, the pressure in their minds increased again. The Hollow Mind had not given up. It was studying them, learning how they resisted its influence. Lieutenant So Young Han monitored the entity's energy patterns. "Captain, the presence is changing its approach. Instead of trying to drain our consciousness directly, it is attempting to isolate our emotions from our thoughts." "Can it do that?" asked Tactical Officer Jinwoo Choi. "If it succeeds, we will become like the alien crews, thinking but not feeling, logical but empty." The boarding party reached the New Horizon through docking tubes. Emergency lighting provided dim illumination as they made their way through corridors filled with floating debris. The air was stale and cold. They found the first group of colonists in a recreation area. Men, Women and children sat in circles on the floor, holding hands and speaking in low voices. Their faces were pale and drawn, but their eyes were alert. "Thank God," whispered an elderly woman when she saw the rescue team. "We thought no one would come." "How have you survived?" asked Tai Min, scanning the colonists with his medical equipment. "We stay together," said a young man holding a sleeping child. "When the thing in our heads gets too strong, we remind each other who we are. We tell stories about Earth, sing old songs, share memories." Daeho understood. The colonists had discovered the same thing his crew had learned. Human emotion was their shield against the ancient horror. They made their way to the bridge, gathering survivors as they went. The colonists were weak from 3 months of fighting the psychic assault, but they had not given up. Families stayed close together. Strangers helped each other walk. Children drew pictures to keep their minds busy. On the bridge, they found Captain Minho Park, the colony ship's commander. He was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes, but he smiled when he saw the rescue team. "Captain Kim," he said, "I was beginning to think Earth had forgotten about us." "Never," Daeho replied. "What is your status?" "We lost about 1,000 people in the first week," Minho explained. "Before we understood what we were fighting. The thing gets inside your head and tries to make you stop caring about anything. Those who gave in just stopped. They are still alive, but they do not speak or move." "How did you figure out how to resist?" "My daughter," Minho said, pointing to a young woman working at a console. Yunji realized that when we focused on our feelings instead of fighting them, the entity could not take hold. Fear made us human. Love kept us connected. Even anger helped us resist. Yunji Park looked up from her work. "We have been broadcasting human stories and music throughout the ship. Lullabies, folk tales, love songs, anything that carries emotional weight. It creates a kind of psychic barrier." Chief Engineer Bo-Ram Lee, who had joined the boarding party, examined the colony ship's systems. "Your engines are dead, but life support is holding. We can transfer your people to the Indomitable." "All 4,000? asked Minho. "We will make room," Daeho promised. As they began the evacuation, the hollow mind struck again. This time its attack was more focused, more intelligent. Instead of trying to drain their consciousness, it sent waves of despair so powerful that several colonists collapsed. "It is learning," gasped So Young, fighting against the psychic assault. "The entity understands that our emotions protect us, so it is using them against us." The ancient presence filled their minds with images of failure and loss. It showed them Earth destroyed, their families dead, their mission meaningless. The despair was so crushing that even strong adults began to weep. But the colonists fought back in their own way. Families gathered together, sharing memories of better times. Parents sang to their children. Elderly couples held hands and spoke of their years together. "Captain," said Yu Jin from the Indomitable's bridge, "the entity is concentrating its entire attention on the colony ship. I think it sees the survivors as a threat." Daeho realized the truth. The hollow mind had fed on the organized consciousness of advanced alien civilizations, but these human colonists represented something it had never encountered before, a group that grew stronger through emotional connection rather than logical efficiency. "Boram, how long to complete the evacuation?" "At least 2 hours, Captain. The colony ship systems are too damaged to move everyone quickly." "We do not have 2 hours," said Jin Woo, monitoring the tactical situation. "The entity is gathering energy for another attack. This one will be massive." Daeho made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. "Yujin, I want you to do something that goes against all your training. Instead of trying to block the entity's signal, I want you to amplify it." "Captain?" Yujin looked confused. "The hollow mind is trying to flood us with despair. But what if we flood it right back? What if we take every human emotion on both ships and broadcast it directly into its consciousness?" Taemin shook his head. "Captain, that could kill us. Our minds are not designed to handle that much emotional feedback." "The entity's mind is not designed to handle human emotion at all," Daeho replied. It has been feeding on pure logic for millions of years. If we hit it with the full spectrum of human feeling, it might overload. So Jung understood immediately. Like forcing a computer to process poetry. The entity cannot digest contradictory emotions, love and hate existing at the same time, hope in the face of despair, joy mixed with sorrow. Exactly. Eugene, can you link the communication systems of both ships? Yes, Captain, but the power requirements would be enormous. Boram? I can reroute power from all non-essential systems, Boram said. But if this fails, we will be defenseless. Daeho looked around at the colonist families still fighting to stay human after 3 months of psychic torture. These people had refused to give up when facing cosmic horror. They had kept their humanity when alien civilizations had failed. We are not defenseless, he said. We have something that entity has never faced before. We have the ability to feel hope even when hope is impossible. The evacuation continued as both ships prepared for the most desperate gamble in human history. They would either save everyone by overloading an ancient cosmic entity with pure human emotion, or they would all die together in the attempt. But they would die as humans, feeling everything that made life worth living, even in their final moments. The hollow mind gathered its strength for what it intended to be the final assault. It did not yet understand that humanity's greatest power came not from advanced technology or psychic abilities, but from the simple refusal to stop caring about each other no matter how dark the universe became.